Hello everybody and welcome back to Juno New Origins, where I was just taking a look at our career, and in terms of progression missions, we only have this Like a Bird mission, which has a tutorial for it. So let's go ahead and do that. That'll teach us how to do... You can be wise and get some wings, or YOLO it and find an alternative. Okay, let's do the tutorial. I'd like to figure out how planes work in this game. So, what do we got here? Would you like to back up your current craft? Do it. Okay, so we started with the car from the jump tutorial, but we made some tweaks to make room for some wings. Okay? First, we'll need to add main wings that will provide the lift to get this beauty off the ground. Indeed. So we do have access to wings, and those are going to go there. Now we need to resize the wing to be like this. Understandable. So we need to bring this back to be like here, and then this guy needs to come into here, and then this guy... Okay, I see what we got to do. Yeah, like that. Now we need to add a control surface. Okay, so we're going to add that control surface, and we want to change the input to roll. There we go. And we use the symmetry tool to duplicate our work to the other side. Yes, so we're going to hop in here and mirror symmetry. Now we need to add the elevator, which will allow the craft to pitch upwards and downwards to change its altitude. Yeah, that is quite important indeed. Right-click and drag the wing we added earlier to clone it. Okay, so, I see what we're doing. Okay, yep, that's fine. So we need to resize the wing to match the desired size, which will be much, much smaller. That makes sense because this is just the elevator. And we're going to put that in like that. And then we also need to get ourselves in a control surface here set to pitch, which makes sense. So I want this to be pitch. There we go. Now we need to mirror it. That makes sense. And we need to add the rudder. Yep. So we're going to duplicate the wing again, and we're going to put that guy right up here. Making sense. And we need to change that to yaw input. Again, complete, total sense. I like it. So that switches over to... Did that actually go to yaw? It did. Okay. So since the elevators are using pitch input, we'll need to change the motor input to the wheels to use throttle. Okay. So this is throttle. There we go. Cool. So the wheels are set to throttle. Is that all of the wheels set to throttle? The back wheels, I believe, don't have motor, do they? No, they're still set to yaw. And yaw is correct here. Okay. So, yeah, we need to click on this car part. There we go. And now we need to close it. Sure. So the center of mass and center of lift. Yes, this is absolutely the case. In KSP, you generally want your center of lift to be slightly behind your center of mass. Let's see what they say to do here. So we need to click to view the options panel, and we need to see the center of mass, which is right there, and the center of lift. That's actually... It's slightly, the center of mass is slightly in front of the blue center of lift, so it should be aerodynamically stable. Yeah, this is how we'd like it in KSP as well, except I would like to have these be vertically a little bit better, but this is probably okay. Yeah, so the further the center of mass is in front of the center of lift, the more stable it becomes, but it loses maneuverability. The closer they are, the more aerobatic it becomes, but if they're too close, then it becomes unstable. So, yeah. That is how that works. Understandable. So we can now launch it, and we can see if this thing can fly. So that'll be from the village runway. Beautiful. So let's see how flying this goes. So in the jump tutorial, we told you to use the pitch for the wheels, but now pitch controls the wings. So we're going to need to throttle up for the wheels. Yes. Look at the wing while using pitch and roll to see the control surfaces move. Yes. So we're going to decrease our pitch. There we go. So you can see there it is trying to pitch us nose down. And then W will try to pitch us nose up. And then Q will increase and decrease the roll. Yep, that makes sense. And we set our throttle to max to gather speed. That is from our wheels here. This is just going to be a glider, by the way. We don't... Ooh, that's very sensitive. We don't currently have any sort of capacity to get additional airspeed once we're in the air. There's no engine on this. Okay, so I'm going to nose this up. Okay, let's kill the wheels so they don't waste battery and engage the autopilot. The autopilot will try to keep you pointing in the desired direction. So there we go. And then we want to come in here and go to lock stability. Yep. Looks good. So that looks fine. And then we want to set our pitch to 20 degrees. Okay. So obviously these wheels are not retractable, and there's only so much that we're actually going to be able to get out of this. Okay, so we can do some loops. Click the lock heading button to disable heading lock. And now we want to increase our pitch. Right. Cool. So yeah. That is indeed how that'll work. We're going to gather some airspeed down here, which we would need to nose up. I'm going to try to land this, and we'll see if that ends up working. We are moving pretty quickly right now, so I'm just... Ooh, right. We need to do this. Okay. So we're moving pretty quickly at the moment. I'm just working on shedding some of this airspeed and looking for a relatively flat place to set down. So something kind of like this. This thing handles a little oddly, but, you know, whatever. There we go. Successful landing. Beautiful. And we'll just recover that. Beautiful. So that went very well, which I would expect. So at this point, in terms of progression missions, we have none. So we could do a Drew orbit rescue. This only gives us 10 million. I wonder where this thing is. Let's accept that, and let's hop in here. We need to get our crude launcher going. So let's load this. That'll be this guy. Now, this is an older design, and this is going to cost 2.6 million to launch, and then an additional 2.56 million from the alley pad. The question is, what orbit is our target in? So this might get reverted depending on whether I think we can achieve this or not. Let's take a quick peek. Okay, so that's definitely in a bit of an inclination. So we would want to launch this into an inclination of 5.55 degrees. So currently our heading is due east, which would be an inclination of 0, right? So if we wanted to match the inclination, do we need to go positive or negative here? 5 degrees. So this would be a heading of 85. And what's the altitude of this? Let's see here. The apoapsis and periapsis is not selected. Okay, so 252 by 125. Noted. Let's go ahead and launch this and see if this is the correct inclination. So off we go. We need to wait for these to ramp up, but eventually they will, and we'll take off here. This thing definitely has some issues. No doubt about it. But that thrust to weight is definitely on its way up. And let's just push ourselves forward at 2x. Okay. So up we go here. And we're just heading over as much as we can. These side boosters are already running out of fuel. And this is because of the ramp-up cycle of this. And I would like to change that, but it's a little late right now. And this design, honestly, should probably be remade anyway. So let's just continue to push this up as much as we can. And I'm wondering if this is a reasonable inclination. It looks semi-reasonable, anyway. So what's our current apoapsis? About 60 kilometers, and we've still got 15% fuel in this SRB. So that's not too bad. We're seeing that thrust to weight drop here, but this is fine for the moment. We're going to push up out of the atmosphere as of now. So that's us out of the, our apoapsis out of the atmosphere. And our thrust to weight is still above 1.0, so this is still fine. Okay, we are out of fuel now, and off we go. So for the moment, the question is, how are we doing on that time to apoapsis? Well, we can see it is ticking down right now. So we don't want to get too aggressive on this turnover. I do want to switch over to orbital mode here. And I kind of want to go up above it and then go down, but 73 seconds. I'm going to cut this. Well, actually, no, I'm not going to do that yet, because we definitely need to continue to burn this. Yeah, we definitely do. We're not in a position where we can coast, so we're not going to do that. We're not going to target a lower apoapsis. Our thrust to weight isn't high enough for that. So we're going to target a higher apoapsis instead. We can see that we have 62 seconds of time until the apoapsis, but that's holding. So we're going to be able to start dropping our heading very soon here. Or rather, dropping our pitch. We can see our vertical speed is still coming down a little bit, but now our time to apoapsis has gone up. Perfect. I'm going to drop this down to 40 degrees. And we're going to watch. It's going up. We're going to drop it down to 30 degrees. It's still going up. Dropping it to 20 degrees. Still going up. Dropping it down to 10. Going down. Okay, we're going to burn here. So that sounds good until that starts going up, which it should very soon. We've got good lateral velocity here and a fair amount of DV to work with, so this should be fine. It is going up now, so I'm dropping our pitch all the way down to 0 degrees. Time to apoapsis should remain holding. It might go down a little bit. Okay, it's going up, so we're fine here. We're actually able to go into a coast phase at this point, but we're in a slightly weird orbit for the damaged Simple Crew spacecraft, so I want to encapsulate this orbit. We're going to go up to about maybe 250. We'll see how that feels. Okay, so this is 210, 220, that's 254. Okay, so now I would like to check our inclination. We definitely approached the correct inclination from there, so we were going the right way, but we didn't quite do what we wanted to. So I'm going to do a planned burn at the apoapsis here. I'm going to circularize this out at about 250. Something like that. So that's going to be 70 meters per second. Go ahead and do it. And we should probably extend our solar panels as well while I'm thinking about it. There we go. Excellent. So we're now circularized at 250. So this is going to not be perfect, of course, and that is absolutely understood. I do want to go around to over specifically here. Yeah, here. And plan a burn at the, this is going to be the ascending node? Sure. So that seems fine, and then we want to try to line this up. It's going to be this way. Okay, so that'll be approximately the right inclination. That's going to be 212 meters per second. Go ahead and do it. Looks perfect. And then we're just going to rendezvous on up with this thing. And the question is, how many orbits would it take? Well, this is not very far apart here, so we might actually want to raise up our apoapsis a little bit. We could just continue doing orbits here, but we have a deadline of 10 days. So I'm going to raise up at the apoapsis, I'm going to raise this up, and we're going to encapsulate this to be about like that. Hang on. I'm just noting here that there's a kind of close-ish rendezvous out over this way, if we were to do a radial. But that isn't going to work, I don't think. Okay, so let's just encapsulate this on out. Let's not do any of this. Let's push this out to about here or so. And let's go ahead and execute that. Okay, so 93.9 meters per second. We're just going to push this up like so. Okay. So now we need to be in a very similar orbit, right? So more specifically, what we need to do is we need to be in a nice transfer window. So we can see here is not perfect. So we're probably going to have to do an orbit. We've got 10 days to do this, so that's okay. Let's go ahead and warp around. We'll give it an orbit. And from here, I want to plan a burn about here-ish, and we're going to bring this back and see what that might look like. So that's still a little off, no doubt about that. And let's change that timing. That's looking a lot better. But it's not perfect yet. Let's give this another orbit. And let's see what this would look like now. So it definitely needs a little bit more time. We're not a super far apart orbit, so this is definitely taking a little bit to get into a decent transfer window. But let's see how it looks in this orbit. This is way better. Okay. This is a reasonable transfer window right here. So that gets us within about a kilometer there. Was what I saw. Let's turn the sensitivity way, way, way down. Yeah, that's about a kilometer. Let's see if we can dial that in any closer. Not in the radial directions. But we can go closer this way. Beautiful. So that's within 500 meters. 400. 300. Losing efficiency. Okay, so let's just dial this in a little bit like so then. That brings us into 45 meters, approximately. Let's call this good, and let's burn right there. Excellent. So, let's see how that goes. Not too bad. 82 meters, 83, 84. Why is this going up right now? Okay, whatever. Let's just warp in to about here. 89 meters. I'm content with 89 meters. So I want to move into target mode, and I want to go to target. Is this retrograde? Yeah, this should be retrograde. Target retrograde. And I want to head over to about here. And let's see how these move. Okay. So that moves us further apart. Noted. I want to do a small corrective burn out. That didn't feel right. Okay, let's let this warp in a little closer. Okay. So the retrograde marker is this one. So we need to position it about here or so. Just dialing that in a little bit like that. Then lock to the retrograde marker. And we can see we still need to shave off quite a lot of speed. Okay. So let's just gently shave off this speed. We're currently like 4 meters away from this thing. So that is, you know, spicy for sure. We can see that we're at a relative differential of about 10 meters per second. And this is going to put us at about 4 meters away. So let's let that coast in a little bit. Cool. So we're down to 10 meters per second differential right now. And I want to drop that down a little more. So let's bring this down to about 5 meters per second. There we go. And we're within range at this point. 70 meters. Okay, let's slow this down a little more. 3, 2, 1 meter per second. And let's get within 30 meters. We'll call that good. Okay, we're still getting a little closer. There we go. We're pretty much relative 0. So that looks good. Let's hop over to the Simple Crew spacecraft. And I want to EVA Estelle Parker here. Okay, so now what I want to do is I would like to target this guy right away. And I'd like to just fire that grapple. There we go. Now we can let go of this, which I think we actually already are. Yeah, about like that. And then we can just very gently retract that tether. Okay. I don't know if we can actually enter this from this distance. Apparently we can. Beautiful. So Estelle Parker is now in the crew compartment, and we need to return her to the surface. So, where are we relative to the village pad? That's the village pad there. It's going into nighttime right now, but I think that's reasonably fine. So sometime around here, what I'd like to do, can we deselect this? Target true. There we go. What I'd like to do is I'd like to bring this down a little bit. I want to maneuver our orbit. Do we need to change to the command disk? Yes. Okay, that'll do. So what I want to do is I want to come here and put in a planned burn. I want to change our inclination a little bit, and I want to drop that down over here. But I also want to bring this retrograde. Something kind of like that. So that should be fine. That'll be in 17 minutes, and let's just go ahead and do that. Cool. So we're going to commence that burn. This direction is indeed safe, so that looks fine. And this is, of course, going to be a few 100-meter-per-second burn. We're just trying to bring this down fairly close to the village. And I'm actually going to cut the throttle now. There we go. We're going to do a re-entry burn once we are a little closer. So let's target velocity retrograde. This isn't moving. Oh, because we're paused. Okay, there we go. So that'll be fine. We'll target velocity retrograde, and then we are already moving fairly slowly. Let's head forward here a bit until such a time as we are about to enter the atmosphere. Okay. So that'll be absolutely fine. We are entering the atmosphere now. I would like to put down, like, in this water up over here. I think at this point, we're probably close enough to the village that it doesn't really matter how much closer we get. So let's burn off the remainder of this fuel. Oh, right, the solar panels. That's my own fault. I didn't retract them. It's okay. Let's burn off the remainder of this fuel at this point. Okay, this is going to be a long burn, actually. We've still got 10% fuel here. Let's see what we've got. 1.2 kilometers per second. Yeah, that's fine. That's absolutely A-okay. I'd like to slow down as much as we can with a re-entry burn here. So that looks absolutely fine. I just would prefer not to land on the land, but we know it's fine to land on the land, so that's okay if it ends up happening. We've got about 15 seconds of burn time left here, and we'll see what that ends up looking like. So next we're going to be staging this. Okay, re-entry burn shut down, and that was a mildly awkward stage, but whatever. I guess we're here now. Sure. Seems fine. I'd like to lock us to retrograde, but we are having a hard time getting out of this whole thing. We'll see how that goes. Okay, it's beginning to slide. Cool. Can we lock it to retrograde, please? We are struggling to lock to retrograde. So we're facing the wrong direction here, and we're moving fairly slowly. but we are definitely not able to lock this to retrograde. So that's awkward. We are slowing down. Is it enough? That's taking heat damage up there. Our temperature is dropping, so we're not going to have temperature issues. The only question is, are we going to be able to fire our chutes? I think we are. We are slowing down considerably. We're down to 800 meters per second. 700. 600. We can see that the max speed is 1 kilometer per second, so we can pull ourselves around with this chute. It broke because it went under too much stress. Okay, what about this one? 320 meters per second. Okay, I want to pause right now if we can, or at least 1/4 X, because we need to grab all of these chutes and activate them like so. So we do something like that. That slows us down a lot. If we were able to do these all at once, that would be much better for us. It wouldn't have snapped, but it's okay. So we can do that, and now we can fire our main chute. Okay, so there goes the main chute. And we are going to be coming down on land, so that is definitely noted. Hopefully it's not too high of altitude for the main chute to actually deploy, because that can be awkward. But let's just bring this on down. So that was definitely not the smoothest mission, but I think we got the job done. Yeah, chute's deploying. And we're down to 13 meters per second. Not too bad. So we just got to bring this back. And, I mean, we did that in, like, well under a day. The deadline was 10 days, and it's 9.9 days. So that was only a couple hours. Not bad at all. Sure, the re-entry was awkward. There's no doubt about that, but what are you going to do? So we're currently about 500 meters above the ground, and just slowly drifting our way down. And that all looks good for now. The drogue chutes definitely did their job. The main chute also doing its job. We're about 100 meters above the ground. I don't want to be in time warp when we hit the ground here. So 12 meters per second, I believe we determined is safe. Yeah, the heat shield takes damage, but it isn't destroyed. Okay, so we got the 8 million. We need to recover this, and we do get a recovery bonus because our distance wasn't very long. So that sounds great. We're going to recover that craft, and that's that mission completed. It is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we'll see what other contracts there are to do. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Xenocyte, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.